One of the biggest betrayals done by the right wing, not just in India, but even in Europe, and it of course hurts in India more because I am an Indian, is the fact that environmentalism has been divorced from the conservative movement. There is nothing more conservative than conserving the environment. And to understand this, we need to begin with something that's very simple. What is a nation? The modern day answer is quite easy. A nation is simply a boundary on a map. It is a central government. It is a passport. It is a contract between you and the government. But that is not a nation. That's a state. Because that's a legal apparatus. A nation is something that's older, deeper, and more mysterious. The state is the physical manifestation of the nation, ideally speaking, that is. But today it's not. A nation is not a machine though. It's not assembled, it grows. It is the organic result of centuries of shared blood, language, memory, myth, and yes, soil. Because soil matters. The land that you're standing on is not neutral, right? The river that flows through our countries is not just water. It's history, story, sanctity, spirituality. Your forefathers' ashes have flown through the Ganga. Your forefathers' ashes has flown through the Kaveri. The hills that hold your temples are not rocks. They are the guardians of spirituality. They are the guardians of our gods. And to destroy the ecology of our homeland is not just poor planning, it is national suicide, committed not with bullets but with bulldozers and blind ambition. In ancient Hindu thought, nature was never separate from the divine. We did not worship in nature, we worshipped nature itself. The river was not near the temple, the river was the temple. The Ganga is a temple herself, the Ganga is a god herself. Mountains were not just scenic, they were witness to eons of lore and mythos. Because land is the base of all civilization, right? The nation cannot exist without the land. Culture cannot exist without the land. Dharma cannot act without land. And this is where modernity deceives us. We are told to think of earth as dead matter, as raw material to be extracted, mined and reshaped. But in the dharmic worldview, the earth is not a stage. She is a participant. We are not the custodians of this earth in the sense of us trying to extract and exploit this earth. We are a part of this earth. We do not follow an anthropocentric worldview, we follow an ecocentric worldview. Because the earth listens, remembers and reacts. What is the point of modernity if you're building these huge skyscrapers but you're not taking into account the sacred geography of the land? Do you want to build infrastructure that violates the land, that violates the principles upon which this land exists, and then you want to call it modernity? I'm sorry, I don't want to live in that kind of modernity. Because today we live in a very strange time. On one hand, across the world, nationalism is rising. People are beginning to reawaken, to rediscover their identity, their history, and their civilizational pride. But on the other hand, rivers are dying, forests are vanishing, and our sacred forests are being paved over for just shopping malls. And oftentimes it is the right wing or the nationalists who will cheer this all. They call it development. But let me be blunt. Nationalism that does not protect its own land is a corpse wearing a crown. Speak of heritage and then to destroy the ecology that carried that heritage for centuries, that is not nationalism, that is amnesia in patriotic clothing. The air your ancestors breathed, the trees they named, the rivers they died for, if you lose all of this, what exactly are you conserving? And is it even worth it? This is why nationalism must expand its soul. It must become ecological, not in the shallow sense of like solar panels and recycling, while all those are positive steps to take in the right direction, but in the deep spiritual civilizational sense of guarding Mother Earth and guarding your land. No, of course, people will say the left already cares about the environment. True, but ask yourself, how do they care? And do they even really care? All the so-called Hollywood and Bollywood elites who actually cry about environmentalism will be the first ones to use a private jet to travel from city to city. They want us to make the shift. They want us to bear the weight and ecological responsibility while they absolve themselves of any responsibility. They speak of CO2 emissions, international accords, climate targets, fine. But where is the rootedness? Today, unfortunately, the left has made environmentalism a very elite problem to have. Because where is the emotional, mythic connection to the land? For the globalist left, the earth is simply a problem to be solved. That's it. But for a nationalist, it is a land to be protected. And that is a difference. Environmentalism in the hands of the left becomes a bureaucratic nightmare of statistics and guilt tripping. They will convince you to give up your rights to further their agenda in the name of environmentalism. But in the hands of nationalists, it can become poetry, ritual, devotion, not sustainability for the sake of sustainability and hitting some arbitrary goal set by the globalists, but sanctity. It's not about just carbon offsets and creating carbon points. It's about cosmic order. That is what makes a dharmic nationalist environmentalism so powerful. It doesn't ask us to save the earth out of fear of losing. It asks us to protect her out of love, love that is sacred, ancient, and fiercely protective. Have you guys noticed something very strange though? The places where civilizations truly live, that is the river valleys, the temple towns, the forest clearings, they still vibrate even today. You feel it when you walk into these places, when you walk into these fountains, when you walk into these forests, you will feel it. That is not nostalgia, that is not just superstition, that is residue of spirituality, that is presence of spirituality. Because the land remembers. Just as you carry the genetic memory in your blood, the earth carries a cultural memory in her soil. To destroy that land is to sever a cord that connects the living to the dead. The mountains, the rivers, the trees, the forests, they have witnessed history, they have witnessed our culture, they have witnessed our memories. They carry with them a spiritual and a cultural power that simply cannot be explained in the realm of the language. To destroy that land is to sever a cord that connects the living to the dead. And that in Dharma is the greatest tragedy. To forget your ancestors and to break that chain of continuity. This is not about being sentimental. This is about ontological survival. If your civilization has no landscape, it has no sacred geography, it has no living ecology, it has no ground to stand on, it is simply vapor. We must return to the sacred bond between man and land, between soul and soil. We must teach our children that to harm the earth is to insult their grandparents, that to protect the earth is to honor not just the meaning of life, but our entire civilization itself. Because if the right wants to be truly rooted, truly dharmic, and truly nationalist, then this is non-negotiable. Environmentalism is not an option, it is a dharma. Because the question you must ask yourself is, do you want to build a nation of glass and steel that forgets its forests and rivers?